Broadcasting live in downtown Oakland.
I'm David Hollander, and you're listening to Protect Your Assets. Over the last 20 years, I've met many people dissatisfied with the lack of value and personal attention their financial advisor provides them. At Liberty Group, we personalize every aspect of our clients' retirement and financial plan with estate law, wealth management, and tax planning all under one roof. Call today to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Back just about a month removed from the end of season 3. It's already time to get season 4 into first gear. We welcome you to Real Racers Virtual Club action live on RaceSpotTV and welcome you back to Tuesday nights. I'm your host Joshua Lee. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Lorenzo Bonder, and we've got Hugo Luis down in the virtual production trailer bringing us all of tonight's coverage. And Lorenzo, there's a lot of excitement coming into this campaign. First of all, Anders Krohn is looking for 2 championships in a row, something nobody has been able to do in Real Racers Virtual Club history, and we've got a brand new car out there on the track.
Yeah, we got the new IR04, as you guys can see it on the screen. Great car, amazing to drive. One of the best cars I ever had the opportunity to race with. And one of the great things about this championship, we keep the format that we had midway through the season on the second half. So made the burst on these championships much better. I think provides more exciting racing. Can't wait to watch this entire season.
Yeah, and this format was loved by drivers and fans alike, so great to see it back used this season here in Season 4. Now, as opposed to the 11-round event schedule that we had last season, we condense it down into 6 over the next handful of weeks. Starting here at the virtual Laguna Seca, then heading into Brands Hatch, Interlagos, Lime Rock, Watkins Glen, and Road Atlanta. We take in all of the amazing tracks, or some of the best tracks that we saw last season, and add in a couple of new ones, Lorenzo, like Brands Hatch and Road Atlanta that we did not see in the schedule last season.
No, we have not. I think the fact that we lose the ovals might be a little bit distracting for some of the drivers. They might not like that. But I think with this new addition, you know, come Brands Hatch, come Road Atlanta, such interesting tracks, not easy ones, will provide a different dynamic in the championship as they go all road this season.
And of course, we see that race information now. 2 races format once again with 11 laps in each of these races. That'll work out to about 15 minutes some odd per race. And of course, utilizing this brand new Formula IR04 designed specifically for use in the iRacing services. We get ready to get all of tonight's action underway. Of course, we're going to qualify all of our drivers here in this lone qualifying session. About 7 minutes, 40 seconds remaining on that clock out of 10 minutes. And we'll see who's going to walk onto the pole position for race number 1. Now, of course, remember in race number 2, it'll be a fully inverted field from the finishing results of race number 1 to form that second grid. So this qualifying is only really important for the grid in race number 1. And then race number 2, it all is going to depend on where these drivers finish. But 11 drivers are taking to the track now to lay down their best times. And we're getting a great look at the number 1 machine of Max Butler. Brand new livery on that car for this season as well, and it looks sharp, Lorenzo.
I like that livery from Max Butler right there. It made it a little bit more distinct than his brother's livery, Joe Butler. But first lap, 122.6, which is a solid lap as put on the top of the board, but I don't know how long that is going to last out.
Rick Sheldon goes up into second place at a 122.8. We'll see if anybody's able to get over the top of Max Butler. And just as I say that, Will Salisbury is going to go up to the top. Zach Hudson goes into second place for the moment, as it looks like a 121.4 seems to be the best of the best so far. So we get another look at Joe Butler, yet another Ferrari painted livery for that number 2 machine, as we continue with qualifying as he works his way through sector 2, going through the high-speed left-hander kink there, and he'll head into the carousel, one of the trickiest portions on this track. Lorenzo, how difficult is it in these cars? How much difference is the downforce and the handling from the old Indy Pro 2000s here to the IR04?
Believe it or not, it kind of differs a little bit. The IR04 is supposed to have a slightly less downforce than what the Indy Pro 18, actually the PM 18 actually had. But braking wise, I was very surprised to see the car actually brakes. You know, whenever you wanted to go in the braking, the car just stops, and you have that mechanical grip going into the inside. It doesn't snap like you used to snap in the PM 18. So it's an easier car to drive. You can go more over the edge with it, but there are some cases, maybe with the baseline setups and some of the tracks, that the car can get snappy during reacceleration. So that's something that the drivers need to be mindful of.
Season 2 champion Matthew Escajeda crosses the line. P2 for the 8 machine at a 121.578. Now you'll notice a name that is not on the timing tower so far, with 5 minutes to go here in qualifying. Last season's champion Anders Krohn in the 47. He laid down a 121.521, but unfortunately an off track or any sort of incident happened on that lap, meaning it has been disallowed. So now Anders Krohn is going to have to lay down another blazing fast time, and even then it would not have been fast enough for that top spot. What a time from Will Salisbury to put up a 121.438. Will, the reigning champion, have anything to say about it? He gets loose through the final corner. That's going to be close to an off track. Looks like he might have been safe, but across the line, is it going to be enough for the pole? Will it be fast enough? And it looks like by just a couple of 100ths of a second, Anders Krohn is going to have to settle for second place.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Anders, but he may do with what the lap he had. And let's look at Escajeda as he goes down into the final part of the sector. Let's see how fast that lap will be. Everybody really close right here as Lasickin now goes into third place. Can Escajeda steal that one from him?
Needs to be at a 121.4, crosses the line. Doesn't look like he'll be able to do it, and he's not going to improve, albeit by about 1/100th of a second, but he will not improve. He'll stay P4. Nicholas Leo on the track here, currently in P7 at a 122.418, and we'll see if he can improve down into the 121s. As right now, all 10 drivers, excluding John Showerman, who currently sits in P11 with no time out on the track, have taken to the track to lay down a time. As we go just a little bit north of 3 minutes to go here in qualifying, Nicholas Leo attacking that corkscrew in the number 4 machine. Let's see what he can do inside of this brand new iRacing Formula IR04, brand new car for this season of the Real Racers Virtual Club. If you remember back to last season, of course, utilizing the Indy Pro 2000 here at Laguna Seca. We came here for round number 9 as the championship was just starting to heat up, and this is where the big run to the end of the season and the 5 straight race wins happened for Anders Krohn. He swept here at Laguna Seca. He swept the following round at Sonoma and was able to win race number 1 at Watkins Glen. Just to bookend that championship, Lorenzo, and a P2 time for him here in qualifying. He is definitely not in the weeds, so to speak, but he does have a little bit of work to do with Will Salisbury being on top of him. We know how difficult some of these drivers can be to pass, especially when they're in the lead.
Yeah, and let's remember that Salisbury was actually very surprising coming into the races, because he joined late in the championship. I think he joined in the final 3 or 2 rounds, and in the Watkins Glen round, he was going side by side with Anders, and it was very fast. You know, he was very competitive, fighting for the lead. I think, if I remember, he had a crash on race number 1. I think race number 2, he had a little bit of a recovery. So I immediately thought, oh, this is a guy to look for this championship, and now he's present. It might be a factor. The only thing we're not seeing that might come to later to the championship might be Josh Green. I think they're thankful that Josh Green is not over here. Otherwise, he would have been given the drivers headaches.
You mentioned Salisbury being one of the drivers to watch. I remember race number 2 back at Watkins Glen in the finale round of the campaign, really having that speed like you mentioned, and eventually ended up with a great finish off of it in P number 2 behind Wade Michael, who was able to grab that race win. So how is Will Salisbury going to do as he currently holds the pole, and as everybody's laps go into the books, it looks like Will Salisbury is going to be on the pole as we begin race number 1 tonight. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors here at Real Racers Virtual Club, and that of course begins with Liberty Group. At Liberty Group LLC, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always wanted. Our team of professionals can help you create a well thought out strategy using a variety of investments and insurance products and services to help you address your financial needs and concerns. We also would like to thank the Stephen Wilson Racing Academy. The Stephen Wilson Racing Academy exists to assist clients on their motorsport journey. SWRA utilizes 20 plus years in the sport with advanced coaching techniques, track and car knowledge, and widespread international industry connections to help clients progress to any level imaginable. Whether the client is new to driving on track or an experienced amateur racer, we help our clients develop driving skills that enable them to climb through the Ferrari Challenge ranks, win races in Ferrari Challenge, advance to competing in Pro-Am racing, and one day possibly iconic races such as the Daytona 24-hour or the Le Mans 24-hour. And returning to support Real Racers Virtual Club is Merit Partners. At Merit Partners, based in Atlanta, Georgia, we always strive to be a company that honors our employees and clients at the highest level as we build relationships around great experiences in the automotive space focused on sports and exotic race and street cars. Merit Partners is your trusted advisor and source for crafted cars. Come visit us to buy, sell, and build long-lasting relationships around cars we love, Porsches, Ferraris, and supercars. We also would like to thank Coforce for their support of Real Racers Virtual Club.
Coforce is a digital media marketing agency specializing in the world of motorsports. Working in a variety of racing series in North America, Coforce offers a full range of services, from video production and targeted branding campaigns to event planning and special projects. For more information, visit www.coforce.com or find them at a race event near you.
Track here at Virtual Laguna Seca as the 10 drivers pace behind the iRacing pace car. Will Salisbury was able to grab the pole position. He'll lead the field to the green flag as Anders Krohn will start to his outside P2. Nikita Lasishkin will start in P3 with Matthew Escajeda, Season 2 champion, starting 4th. Zach Hudson will round out your top 5 with Joe Butler starting in 6th. Rounding out the field, it'll be Nicholas Leo, Rick Sheldon, Max Butler, and Kurt Panzerground, Season 1 champion, as John Showerman unfortunately not able to take to the grid to start race number 1. Well, this past weekend, one of our drivers and league admin, Rick Sheldon, took to the real-life Laguna Seca track in the SVRA and drove his Datsun 510 around the real-life Laguna Seca track. And Lorenzo, that just brings me to an amazing part of this series, and we'll watch the video of him taking the laps in the real-life car a little bit later on tonight. But all of these drivers are real-life racers as well. That just goes to show how realistic this sim is and how everybody just looking to have a little bit of fun here on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, just try to kick back and enjoy, even if they are not pro race drivers, they have some sort of racing in their veins or worked in motorsports, so that's really cool. And this not standing start, but the other format, rolling start, is going to be a little bit different than what we normally see at the IRO4. It's going to be an interesting one.
We'll see how these 10 drivers will attack Laguna Seca. It's a new season, a new car. Can Anders Krohn go 2 in a row? Will we continue the streak of unique champions in every single season of Real Racers Virtual Club? They're on the loud pedal. We are racing from Virtual Laguna Seca, and they already start to spread out as they race through turn number 1. Almost 3 wide towards the back as Joe Butler took a peek to the outside. They get it settled back to 2 wide as the battle for second Bruce. Lastachkin with an amazing run on the inside is able to power by Anders Krohn. Now the former champion in the last season is going to have Zach Hudson to deal with to try and take over that 3rd spot. But out in front, it's all Will Salisbury getting an amazing start off the beginning of this race.
Yeah, really good start from Salisbury, you know, trying to break away as best as he can. Already put it up nearly a full second on Nikita Lasickin, 0.7, and then a full second goes to Anders Krone. Now the job has to try to distance himself away, try to open up about 2 seconds. Close to 2 seconds is there where you can breathe easy. Don't push too hard on that car, so the draft is not working against you. But everybody, other than that, a clean start. That's what we like to see.
Through the corkscrew, and it looked like Escajeda tried to make a look to the inside of Zach Hudson and might have outbraked himself a little bit, might have been going for a bit of an aggressive move, but either way, it did not work out. He'll stay P5. Closer to the front, Will Salisbury, of course, still in the lead. He has kept that lead for this entire first lap, and he'll lead us across the line to complete lap number 1 of 11 here tonight. Nikita Lasickin and Anders Krone have traded places along with Zach Hudson and Matthew Escajeda to gain and lose 1 spot for each of those drivers. Joe Butler, Nicholas Leo, Max Butler, Rick Sheldon, and Kurt Panzerground going to round out the 10 drivers on the track as we sit on board with Nicholas Leo, who sits in P7 trying to chase down Joe Butler in front of him. Now, both of these drivers last season were winless in the campaign, Lorenzo. I know these drivers are hungry for some wins out here on the track. Will Salisbury, another winless driver who sits at the front of this field, but they've got Lasickin and Krone sitting 2nd and 3rd, both of whom got 4 wins and 8 wins respectively last season.
Yeah, basically full domination last season from Lasickin and Anders Krone, and I think the thing about they're still contenders in this championship is pretty much amazing to see. What I like about this car is I think we saw trouble with Rick Sheldon going, I think, just up the Ray Hall straight, looks like, and but other than that, amazing to see. Everybody's got a chance right here as we're gonna look on the replay. What happened to Sheldon?
We'll take a look as he worked his way, just like you mentioned, going up the hill there through the Ray Hall straight, and unfortunately ends up getting turned around, and he'll go down into P number 10 on the course right now. Still out in front, Will Salisbury, as we gain into the battle for 7th place between Nicholas Leo and Max Butler. Here comes that rainbow color number 1 to the inside at T1, and that is a relatively easy pass on Nicholas Leo for Max Butler. Now gonna have to try and chase down brother Joe, who sits in 6th place. But now here comes the draft into full utilization from Nicholas Leo here, Lorenzo. Do you think he might have an opportunity to use it down this straightaway and maybe make a move into turn 5 or 6?
He needs to be a little bit closer. I would say the gap needs to be right about 0.2 of a second for you to start to think any mistakes. Oh, not mistakes, but any overtakes. And unfortunately, Nick Leo made a mistake.
You'll try and get that car back up and running. That was at the exit of turn number 5, and we'll see if we can grab a replay of what exactly happened to him, as it looks like a battle for second has brewed, as it may be a mistake from Nikita Lasickin, and maybe a slow down of sorts through the corkscrew has just put him now to the bottom step of the podium in P3, and now some odd 2.8 seconds behind your race leader, Will Salisbury. Here's what happened to Nicholas Leo, Lorenzo. Gets 1 tire into the grass on the inside, 1 tire into the dirt on the outside, and that led to him getting spun around.
Yeah, too much sand going to the outside, and you need the acceleration right there. You're going to look into Lasickin. What happened to the number 10 driver? Just locking up the brakes, going full straight into the corkscrew, getting that second slowdown.
And we are currently on lap number 4 as we go on board with Matthew Escajeda. Of course, remember back to season 2, he was your champion there. Not able to go 2 in a row, but looks for 2 overall this season. And that goes to show fresh start here to the season in virtual Laguna Seca. And with a condensed calendar of only 6 rounds, it's not the marathon 11 rounds and a grand total of, I believe, somewhere north of 25 total races that we had last season. It was a long campaign last season. Now we're going back into 6 total rounds and 12 total races. It's a little bit less to take in for each of these drivers and could lend the hand of somebody who is better at sprint seasons, like maybe Matthew Escajeda can get a 2nd championship.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I think with the tracks like Brands Hatch, Lime Rock, which are tracks that are different kinds of race tracks that we normally saw in the whole campaign. They drive different than Interlagos, Laguna Seca, Watkins Glen. It's going to be interesting to see how they tackle with these cars, and also how the setup for some of the tracks, because the IR04 does have some fixed setups for said tracks, so it might ease up the work of trying to do reconnaissance in the track, just trying to understand where the grip is. Let's see who's going to be doing best with the car, with the equipment they have.
Already closing in on halfway done with this first race of the night. Remember, we're continuing on that 2-race per event format that we introduced halfway through last season. So we still got one more race after this, and we're on board with Nicholas Leo in the 4, who's looking to try and get by Kurt Panzergrau, who sits in P8. Remember, through this corner just a couple of laps ago, that mistake came out from Nicholas Leo. He got turned around and fell down into this 9th place spot that he is currently in, as Kurt Panzergrau gets a little bit squirrely coming through turn 6 and onto the Rahal straight. Through the corkscrew, is Nicholas Leo going to go for a dive? No, he won't, but on the brakes go both of those drivers through the braking zone, and still going to have a little bit of slipstream as he goes through Rainy Curve and through turns 10 and 11. Back to the front straight away, and this is going to be a big opportunity for Nicholas Leo to make this pass Lorenzo. Huge overtake opportunity heading down into the opening turn 1 and the Andretti hairpin at turn 2, especially with the draft in these cars.
Yeah, they had a very good exit on Kurt Panzergrau going to the inside. Panzergrau with a very aggressive block going to the inside part of the lane right there, Josh. Don't know if he's going to be able to make that dive, though.
He takes a peek to the inside of the Andretti hairpin, and it looks like they might have made a little bit of contact to the rear and front wheels, respectively, of both of these cars. But Kurt Panzergrau is able to hold on to that 8th spot at the moment, but Leo is not done. He sits parked on the back gearbox of the number 11, and as they exit turn number 4, down the straightaway they go. Leo tries to take a peek to the inside through turn 5. He decides against it, as up the hill they go through turn 6, and Leo is going to have to wait through another lap to try and make that pass again on Kurt Panzergrau. As through this middle sector, Lorenzo, becomes very, very not only difficult to make passes, but also becomes very, very dangerous, because they could lead to contact, especially through the corkscrew.
Yeah, you really don't want to pull Alessandro Zanardi going to the corkscrew, which is very high risk. One thing is high-powered cars. One thing is low-powered cars with low downforce. So what you have to do is just try to do your best to stick as best as you can, as Leo going to look to the inside and going to go for that dive.
Just goes for the move through turn 11, and that is going to be move successful for the 4 of Nicholas Leo. He now sits in P8, and Panzergrau going to have to fall to P9. Matthew Escajeda with a bit of an incident at turn number 1, going to the outside of Zach Hudson, and just overcooked those brakes. Lorenzo ends up off and into the dirt at the Andretti hairpin. He sits P7 now on the track.
Yeah, which is a very, very easy corner for you to misjudge and go deep in the braking zone and then just go way too wide. And fortunately, Escajeda is still in one piece, slightly behind both Butler brothers. The only thing I can say, Joshua, if we're going to analyze from last season, we really don't want to be in Butler's household right now.
We always talk about, whenever the Butlers are fighting on the track, exactly the drama that's going to happen over the dinner table at the end of the day. And it looks like Lastichan might have made yet another mistake at the exit of the corkscrew, losing not positions this time. I believe he might have lost 3rd place to Zach Hudson, but mainly losing time. Now here come the Butler brothers. Here comes Escajeda to now be right up his rear gearbox. And now 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th might be into a 4-way battle for that spot. Here's what happened to Lastachkin, and just so loose coming through turn 7. Lorenzo, do you think the car might have just offloaded that downforce, or do you think Lastachkin might have a bigger issue happening? Because as Escajeda makes a pass on Joe Butler for 6, we saw him going through turn number 1 there for the moment. Lastachkin looked a little bit upset with that car.
Hey, he did. I don't know if there's any mechanical damage in the car. It doesn't look like it from my end, from looking from my end. But what we did see as Panzergrau is off on turn number 1 and 2. Just mind the rejoin there, Kurt. There you go, nice and clean. What might have happened as we look on the replay for Lastichan? Let's just take a quick look. Yeah, that's the back end stepping out. Similar to what happened to Lastachkins, you know, just carrying too much speed and trying to brake while you're turning in. And this car is not very friendly. I know this much from trying to turn in while you're still braking. The back end can step real quick, so you have to be very mindful when carrying the speed through the corner, especially in these low gear corners.
Panzer Ground now ends up 10th. Rick Sheldon able to grab one spot back to head up into P number 9. At the current moment, with the full field invert heading into race number 2, Kurt Panzergrau will be on the pole with Rick Sheldon to his outside. But Will Salisbury out the front of this field made his first start in Watkins Glen at the end of last season. Ended up with a second place finish in race number 2. So going to take second place and make it into first place as we sit on board with Matthew Escajeda towards the back of the field in P6. He's trying to chase down Max Butler at the current moment, but starting to space out just a tad as Escajeda tries to catch up to the other Butler, Max Butler, who sits in P number 5, currently on the track. They all sit in what in F1 terms would be a DRS train. Now, these cars don't have DRS, but relatively the same gap in between each of these drivers as we've got 3 to go out here on the track.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one as Escajeda nearly goes into the sand on the outside part of the turn. What I like about this, you know, Josh, is the fact that, like, this car does have some similarities to the last season PM18 car, in terms of maybe speed and somewhat how the tires work, as Joe Butler has a little bit of a slide off come and turn into the carousel, but David nevertheless didn't lose too much time at the end of the day. Might have lost maybe a tenth or two in terms of time, as now Escajeda is on the back wing of Max Butler looking for that move.
You're off the back of Max Butler as Escajeda steps to the outside, tries to use the slipstream down into the Andretti hairpin. Is it going to be enough to make the move work on the outside line? And no, it is not. He might have overcooked it a little bit heading into that corner, might have outbraked himself, and ends up losing a bit of time now to the one machine as Escajeda will have to settle for 6th place as we go to 2 laps to go. The gap for the race lead not closing in nearly as much as Anders Krohn is hoping for, and Zach Hudson in 3rd, some 7 seconds back from 2nd place. Spinning in the back, that's Joe Butler in the 2. The red Ferrari painted number 2 machine ends up spinning off and into the dirt at turn 5. Doesn't look like any damage to that IRO4, but heartbreak for Joe Butler, who is keeping up and might have been able to make a move on Escajeda for P6, and he just got snapped right on around at turn number 5. I think Lorenzo, a couple of times, okay, that's just a happenstance, but now this seems to be one of the main troubles, or one of the main challenges with this car, is maybe a little bit of lack of downforce through the middle portion of these corners that's tripping up these drivers.
Yeah, I'm wondering as well, as you got the white flag going as Barney waves it around. Lasichin right behind Zach Hudson, trying to go for the move on the outside here, Josh. Might be the fact that this car doesn't take too aggressive inputs. I think you have to be slightly smooth going to the corner, and that what might have happened to Joe just when trying to go aggressively, didn't get the grip, and when he went to snap the wheel again, the rear just snapped.
And we're taking a look now at a battle for that 3rd spot, and Lastichkin wants a spot on the podium back. Zach Hudson looking to hold on to it. Bit of a touch to the grass there on the outside of turn number 5 for Hudson as he tries to hold off the Russian racing driver who sits creeping on his gearbox. At the front, Will Salisbury is looking to walk away with career win number 1. Lastichkin way overcooks it, heading into the corkscrew, makes contact with Zach Hudson, sends both of them off of the racing track, and now up into 3rd place goes Max Butler as Will Salisbury win number 1. He starts the season perfect at Laguna Seca, but what an incident heading into the corkscrew as he went for the move, but it looked like a little bit too late and a little bit too fast for Lastichkin.
Yeah, just try to go for a very high risk, high low chance maneuver into the corkscrew. You can see Zach Hudson's tire basically chopped off on the right hand side. There's a little bit of a suspension damage as well. Can he carry to the end without too much trouble. He's still going to be P8 at the end of the day, as he might bump up one spot, as Lastichkin got black flag on the last lap and he got his first tally point of the season.
Yeah, remember, of course, per the rule book, there's a section on incidents. There also is a section on if the officials find that there was intent to intentionally wreck, they can take the necessary actions there as well. Not sure if Zach Hudson is going to take it all the way up to the top league admins and really protest that incident, but of course, we'll keep you updated. At the end of the day, at the end of this race, Nikita Lastichkin will end up in P number 10, as I believe outstanding time penalty that has just now been added. So he is going to end up on the pole position as of right now for that second race. We'll see if the admins take any offense to that, but Will Salisbury ends up with the win, and he starts off the season in the best way possible. Anders Krone in second place, Max Butler third, Matthew Escajeda fourth, with Joe Butler rounding out your top five. Nicholas Leo ends up sixth, as Zach Hudson, through that last lap incident, will come home P7 in a trio of Indiana natives, 5th, 6th, and 7th on the finishing results, with Rick Sheldon, Kurt Panzergrau, and Nikita Lastichkin rounding out the top 10. And John Showerman, fortunately not able to start race number 1. He'll end up in P11, 12 laps down. What an exciting start to this brand new campaign of Real Racers Virtual Club. And Lorenzo, warm up now underway for this second race. And with that full field invert and with these cars, that's going to create a very, very interesting race number 2, to say the least.
Yeah, especially with these guys that started up in the front. I know Lastichkin is going to eventually start at the lead in this one. So what I think is going to be interesting is, because there is parity in these cars, they're about up to a full second faster. It might provide some really close racing. Some drivers might have defended themselves aggressively into some of the diving turns, and could provide some exciting action to the lap number 3 and 4 and onwards.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, all of these drivers are real-life racing drivers as well. And this past weekend, our own Rick Sheldon took his Datsun 510 around the real-life Laguna Seca circuit in the SVRA. Let's take a look at a little bit of onboard footage with Rick Sheldon, his Datsun 510. Well, Lorenzo, I don't know about you, but I definitely want a 1969 Datsun 510 scanned into iRacing now, so I can do that in the virtual world as well.
I'm not gonna lie, when I watched that video, I was like, I want to have my chance to drive that thing at least once in my life, even if it is virtually, because the roar on that car was just insane.
And that also brings up, of course, we talk about it every time Real Racers Virtual Club hits the track, but all these drivers are real-life racers. You know, maybe not on the level of Nikita Lastichkin with his Indy Lights experience or Anders Krone, but weekend racers are prominent, especially overseas and especially here in the United States. Whether you race on the weekends, whether you race full-time, you are still a real-life racer, and great to see all of these drivers that take part in real-life events also take part here in the virtual world, not just to have some fun, but to have a little bit of friendly competition as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I like these I think the best way we can put it is grassroots competition, you know, and I think that's what really fuels the motorsport world. Of course, we have the top tiers, we have Indy, we have F1, and other forms of top tier competition, but the grassroots is where I think the true racing is at, man, you know. No BS, no major regulations, you know, just go out on the track, burn some rubber and have fun.
And 15 seconds remaining here in warm-up as we continue our coverage tonight of the Real Racers Virtual Club, round number 1 of season 4 here from virtual Laguna Seca. As that clock expires, we'd like to thank all of our sponsors here at Real Racers Virtual Club one last time tonight, starting with Liberty Group. At Liberty Group LLC, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always wanted. Our team of professionals can help you create a well-thought-out strategy using a variety of investments and insurance products and services to help you address your financial needs and concerns. We also would like to thank the Stephen Wilson Racing Academy. The Stephen Wilson Racing Academy exists to assist clients on their motorsport journey. SWRA utilizes 20-plus years in the sport with advanced coaching techniques, track and car knowledge, and widespread international industry connections to help clients progress to any level imaginable. Whether the client is new to driving on track or an experienced amateur racer, we help our clients develop driving skills that enable them to climb through the Ferrari Challenge ranks, win races in Ferrari Challenge, advance to competing in Pro-Am racing, and one day possibly iconic races such as the Daytona 24-hour or the Le Mans 24-hour. We also like to thank returning partners, Merit Partners. At Merit Partners, based in Atlanta, Georgia, we always strive to be a company that honors our employees and clients at the highest level as we build relationships around great experiences in the automotive space, focused on sports and exotic race and street cars. Merit Partners is your trusted advisor and source for curated cars. Come visit us to buy, sell, and build long-lasting relationships around cars we love, Porsches, Ferraris, and supercars. We also would like to thank Coforce for their support of Real Racers Virtual Club.
Coforce is a digital media marketing agency specializing in the world of motorsports. Working in a variety of racing series in North America, Coforce offers a full range of services, from video production and targeted branding campaigns to event planning and special projects. For more information, visit www.coforce.com or find them at a race event near you.
The field paces their way now down the Ray Hall Straight. We'll grab a quick look at that starting grid. And of course, John Showerman still not taken to the grid, so it'll be Kurt Panzergrau who will move his way up and into that top spot, with Nikita Lastichkin in the 10, earning, both of them actually, earning EOL penalties, which will move Zach Hudson to the pole, Rick Sheldon to his outside, Nicholas Leo is going to be up towards the front, as well as Joe Butler, Matthew Escajeda, Max Butler, Anders Krohn, and Will Salisbury will start back from there. And like I mentioned, Nikita Lastichkin and Kurt Panzergrau both receiving EOL penalties. They will start at the tail end of the field for race number 2. Race number 1 definitely saw a bit of fireworks, and it saw a dominant Will Salisbury be able to grab his first career win of Real Racers Virtual Club. Can he be the first person since Anders Krohn in Sonoma last season to sweep a full event? We're racing here on race number 2, and it's a good start for the number 3 out in front. That is Zach Hudson leading the field to turn number 1. Rick Sheldon sits in second, but now to the outside goes Nicholas Leo. That's a big move to the outside, and it looks like a bit of argy-bargy closer to the back as Max Butler gets beat out of the way, maybe by his brother Joe, maybe by Will Salisbury, as they continue to run now 2 wide, close together, and Zach Hudson is seeing all of this in his rearview mirror and checking out at the front of the field.
Yeah, a little bit of frantic action between the brothers right there. I think what happened is Joe went to the curbing and stepped out a little bit, and his brother was just slightly behind. Had to brake check, slightly nose behind him. We got a little bit weird as they managed through turn 1 and 2 unscathed, as Anders Krohn looks to the inside of turn number 7 right there, but up to the Ray Hall Straight, cannot pull the move.
A 2-second lead now for Zach Hudson over Rick Sheldon as they all head into the corkscrew. This didn't work, and down to the inside, a little bit of contact now as Anders Krohn goes up into the air. repair. He makes contact with Escajeda. Pantograph barely avoids it. Lasitchkin off as well. That's the 4 machine of Nicholas Leo spun around, and as they almost completed lap number 1, full course caution is called, and Zach Hudson's lead of over 3 seconds is now going to end up being nothing, as it is a big pile up at the top and bottom of the corkscrew. Pace car is heading out onto the track as we see our first full course caution of the season, and a quick stop into pit road for both Anders Krohn and Nicholas Leo. Escajeda's in, Lasitchkin's in, and Max Butler are all in for their 1 quick repair allocated in this race. They'll all work their way into the pit lane. Quick stops for everybody. They're not allowed to change tires. They can only grab that fast repair, and they all exit the pit lane. But interesting to note, Lorenzo, full course cautions can only be called on lap number 1, so we do not have a threat of having another full course caution. This will be the one and only one for this race, but there are just a couple of corners away from finishing that opening lap before that big incident took place.
Yeah, which is the good thing for to see, you know, of course, got a little bit hectic right there as everybody went down to the corkscrew. Could have been much worse between the drivers, and thankfully only about 3-4 cars, still a plentiful number considering the grid sizes. We're going to look on the replay what happened right there. A little bit of a dive from Anders Krohn, touching the back wheel Butler. I think Nick Leo spun around, and everybody else is trying to navigate out of their way, and unfortunately Krohn getting the worst end of it and just triggering the yellow flag.
With both Krohn and Leo spun around there as well, that became basically a roadblock with only 1 lane to get through, and unfortunately collecting Lasitchkin, Butler, and more off of that opening lap incident. And it looked like heading into that opening corner of the corkscrew at turn number 8, and just went for the move, and maybe it was a little bit aggressive there from Anders Krohn, but he went for that move, especially with 2 drivers in front of him that admittedly were a bit slower. Just maybe not the right time for the move, and maybe just a little bit too aggressive, especially on the opening lap of this race.
Yep.
But didn't hurt Anders Krohn too much. That full course caution came out, grabbed the fast repair, and he's still back in P7.
Still back in P7. Luckily for him, you know, they have that quick repair. Otherwise, it would have been day and dusted for Anders Krohn and Nick Leo. What was impressive though was the evasive action out of Max Butler and those behind them at the end of things, you know, which was kind of impressive to see. And let's hope this restart brings some good action. You know, it's going to be single file restart, and as the pace car lights is out, and we're going to have a green flag once again on lap number 4. I gotta say, Zach Hudson is in a world of pain with Joe Butler and Will Salisbury not far behind.
And of course, we saw on that opening start, Zach Hudson, with the side-by-side moments happening behind him, really slingshotted out to the lead. And it looks like as well, Max Butler might have overcooked it a little bit as well. That's what got Nicholas Leo turned around, was maybe a little bit of bumper cars also played with some contact from Anders Krohn behind. But either way, Leo got sent into the corkscrew and ended up getting turned around. That's where he made contact with Anders Krohn, got both of them stopped in the middle of the track, and that is where Butler, Escajeda, and Lasitchkin also got involved. But back to that opening lap, Lorenzo, Hudson took off as everybody was fighting through turn number 1 to a very, very substantial lead. The question is, can he do the same thing on this restart? Because now there's single file, and he's got Rick Sheldon now back right behind him on his gearbox.
It's going to be a tough one, you know. I don't know the true pace of Rick Sheldon on the start. I don't know. Sheldon might be able to put that pressure on Zach Hudson. I think the one that we should be looking for is definitely Joe Butler, and most definitely Will Salisbury, as once we get the green flag in a little bit. So let's see. Of course, he dictates the field, but surely he doesn't dictate the pace.
His car back into the safety of pit lane will be going green with 8 laps to go in this race. Off the final corner, onto the lap pedal, goes the 3 of Hudson. We are back underway, and it looks like a bit closer between each other is Joe Butler and Will Salisbury, as the battle for third looks to be brewing into turn number 1. Inside line for Salisbury, outside line for Joe Butler. They settle it going into the Andretti hairpin, and up back to the podium spots goes Will Salisbury. That number 7 machine shot out of a cannon on the restart. He looks to the inside, and Rick Sheldon can't get there as they work their way through turn 3. Single file now, second, third, and fourth is now stepping into the inside line. Goes Will Salisbury in the 7. They dive into turn number 5, and to the inside now of Rick Sheldon goes Joe Butler, and from second now to almost fourth goes the number 63, and it looks like off track they go, and another big pile up as Joe Butler's involved. That looks to be the 10 Elastic involved. I believe Anders Krohn's into the tires. Yes, he is. A 4-car incident going onto the Ray Hall straight, and we have another full course caution called on this track.
I'm slightly surprised to see on this restart, but then again, I want to look from Joe Butler's perspective. I don't know if that was a dive going into the entry of the Ray Hall straight, but man, that was a little bit weird for looking from that angle. I want to look at the replay again.
Safety car will work its way back onto the racetrack as a bit of a surprising full course caution called, to say the least. And Hudson again with another good restart there is going to have Will Salisbury now right back immediately behind him on this restart. But another 4-car incident, that's not going to go well for any of those drivers, especially considering the fact that they not only all need tows, but all but 2 of them, Lasickin and Butler, have yet to use their fast repairs. Leo and Krohn did, so Leo and Krohn are going to be out of this race. Panzergrau and Sheldon come into the pit lane to grab some fast repairs, as that's the only thing they can do under this caution. No tires can be taken. And Max Butler also using his fast repair. Now that will leave out of the drivers that have yet to be involved in incidents, Zach Hudson and Will Salisbury, who have yet to use their fast repairs. Nearing halfway through this race, and we'll see if we can grab a replay of what happened with that incident heading through turn number 6, but looked like just quickly ran out of real estate in that battle as Joe Butler and I believe it was Anders Krohn who ended up making contact. That was Rick Sheldon that he ran off the track. There's Rick Sheldon making big contact with Anders Krohn, sending him off the racing line. And Nikita Lasickin, another scenario for the 10 where he just had nowhere to go off that incident.
Yeah, looking from that angle, it's full on Joe. The real problem with that corner, you need to be with the car ahead. You have to have a little bit of overlap forward, not backwards or even side by side, because the way that turn goes, you're obviously gonna track out towards the outside, towards that sand on the entry of the Ray Hall straight. So committing, you're gonna have to get real trust out of the other drivers, and you guys gonna make it out in one piece. That didn't happen 100%, and thus causing the crash and the rejoin suboptimal, using our fellow commentator Lewis McGlade's word. And you know, that helped most Escajeda as we look towards Rick Sheldon's perspective.
And it looked a little bit from that angle like the 2 of Butler just hit that inside curb, and that's what this track has on the inside of each of these corners. There's just a giant hump that sits to the inside of that rumble strip. You can see it there at turn 2, and just slight contact with that, with these open wheel cars. Lorenzo just kind of sends them right up the road, and unfortunately for Rick Sheldon, that's all she wrote, and ended up off the track. And Anders Krohn with nowhere to go, Lasickin and more just ending up getting caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, if there's one thing I've learned from driving Indy cars and open wheelers, the F3s, excuse me, in other open wheelers, is that curb on the entry of turn number 5, is not the friendliest by one bit. Turn 6 rather is not friendliest whatsoever. Look at Max Butler's perspective, the mayhem that goes in front of him. Tries to brake, tries to go towards the outside. Nothing he can do right there, and the number 1 just gets involved into it. But luckily for him, I don't think there's max damage, no pun intended, towards his left-hand side of the car.
Yeah, rather luckily, he will end up only in P3 now, and doesn't look like he had enough damage to warrant a fast repair being used last time, but he did still have a fast repair used from an incident earlier on. So now everybody in this field has used their fast repair, at least one of them, and Hudson and Salisbury have yet to use their fast repairs here tonight. Ready to go back to racing, and it will be 5 laps to go. We have yet to run a full lap under the green flag tonight. As the safety car pulls back into the safety of pit lane, there's the number 7, race number 1 winner tonight here at round number 1 from virtual Laguna Seca. Will Salisbury looking for a clean sweep tonight, as Anders Krohn did last season. We are back underway and back into the Andretti hairpin at turns 1 and 2. Through 1 they go, and Zach Hudson trying to hold off his charging Will Salisbury at the front of the field. But take a look at Max Butler. He's also caught up to this lead battle. Top 3, less than a second as they race through sector 1.
Everybody close to one another. Salisbury, I thought he was actually going to go for the move on turn number 1, but played conservative right here, which I like to see that from Salisbury. You know, just work the laps out. You have still a little bit less than half of the race left for you, but nevertheless, you know, you can make it to the end unscathed and cleanly. And you know, it's a 3-car scrap between Hudson, Butler, and Salisbury as we have more incidents.
That's Rick Sheldon getting turned around in the number 63 back towards the front. Zach Hudson, all sorts of cattywampus going through the middle of the course. There's the move from Will Salisbury as the 3 has to go to the outside, and Will Salisbury back to the front. Big question now, Lorenzo. Can Zach Hudson do anything about it? Can Max Butler do anything about it? Remember race number 1, Will Salisbury at the beginning of that race pulled away at the front of this field by multiple seconds by the end of the opening lap. Can he do the same here?
Good question. The problem that for the other drivers that Salisbury pulled away because Lasitchkin had the went far into the course crew as Zach Hudson having issues on turn number 2. Now Max Butler side by side is going to be on the outside. I don't think he's going to be able to make that move, Josh. Might go for the cutback right here. Not going to have enough room, and just like that, look at Salisbury pulling more than a second right now. Both of them, that draft is gone.
A dominant run tonight from Will Salisbury with 4 to go. Let's see if he can hold on to this lead. Leo and Sheldon gonna trade spots for P6, but this battle for second is not over as Hudson currently holds that spot, but here comes Max Butler. Of course, Max Butler, a winner at Phoenix in the opening race of that 7th round of the campaign last season. And he's looking for win number 2 for his career and race win number 1 of this season. He's got to get by Zach Hudson, and he's got to get by Will Salisbury. Might need a mistake from both of them to be able to complete that pass. Let's take a look at a replay. Anders Krohn making contact with Rick Sheldon in the braking zone at turn 5, sends them both off into the dirt.
Weird incident from looking from that angle from Anders Krohn. I think he misjudged Rick Sheldon's braking. I think Sheldon might have braked a little bit earlier than usual as Escajeda, I think, moves up 1 spot, goes into P4. Pensegrau was slightly ahead of him on the restart as Escajeda, I think, gave room to Pensegrau during the grid order. And now the Red Bull livery driver is now back into P4.
And now with 3 laps to go, just how quickly this race has flown by with those double full course yellows that we have had. But Will Salisbury looking to get a better start to the season than anybody last year. Andre Castro and Josh Green won the opening 2 rounds back when we were still on the single race format. Then our season champion, Anders Krohn, got his first win of the season at Gateway in the 3rd round of the campaign. Will Salisbury is going to get an amazing start to this season by, if he can win this second race of the night, sweeping at Laguna Seca. And sweeping in both races in one round was only done by Anders Krohn last season at Laguna Seca and Sonoma. He'd only be the second driver in the history of this series to do so.
Yeah, which proves why Salisbury, when he went to the Watkins Glen race, was actually a contender. He was fighting for the lead of the race on race number 1. Had the issue, I think, was with Anders Krohn, it was Lasickin rather, on the first few laps, was relegated back, tried to recover his race, but didn't do much on the second race. However, went much better, got P2, like you said earlier in the broadcast. So that was the guy, when I was looking at it, was like, okay, let's pay attention to that guy next season if he comes back, because that guy got the pace.
And now working their way onto lap number 10. 2 laps to go. Back to the Rahal straight for Will Salisbury. Everybody back from this lead group has spaced their way out, and unfortunately only 6 drivers now remain on the lead lap, as Joe Butler in 7th and Rick Sheldon in 8th place. Both are sitting 1 lap down, with Nikita Lasickin and Anders Krohn both sitting 9th and 10th out of this race after getting caught up in, unfortunately, not just 1, but 2 incidents out on the track tonight. Back to the front straightaway. White flag will be in the hands of Barney, the flagman, for Will Salisbury in the 7. And as they go onto this final lap, Lorenzo, doesn't look like Zach Hudson is going to have much of a hard time battling with Max Butler behind, as we see another mistake from Joe Butler off the exit of turn number 6, goes way off and into the dirt and gets turned around again.
And nearly a repeat what we saw at lap number 4. Unfortunate for Joe Butler. I think he wants to forget this race ever happened and move to the next round of the calendar, going to the Brands Hatch, taking it across the pond. So unfortunate to see the Ferrari not have the performance like they want to in the American track.
And unfortunately, not having the performance of the real-life Ferrari cars in Formula 1.
I was holding myself back, man.
I had to go for it. It's absolutely no hit Joe Butler, but he wants to get a little bit of that fire from the real-life Ferrari drivers this season, but unfortunately, not the best start for Joe Butler in this campaign. Not the best start for Lasickin and Krohn. Now, we saw the 10 and the 47 be the 2 drivers who were battling for the championship in Season 3 of Real Racers Virtual Club. Well, as we begin a new campaign, there is a new driver and a new championship favorite. He does what only Anders Krohn was able to do last season. He sweeps the opening round of the campaign. Will Salisbury 2 for 2 as Max Butler goes for 2nd. Can't do it. Hudson's gonna end up holding that spot, but Max Butler in the 1 sits bottom step of the podium. And what a win, and what a 2 wins for Will Salisbury in the 7, as we see Kurt Panzergrau looking to come home in a top 5 finish with Nicholas Leo in hot pursuit in 6th.
Yeah, good result from Panzergrau. If I recall correctly, he didn't get a top 5 last season, or got really close to the top 5 last season, so good to see the number 11 being featured in the top 5. Fezcajeda tried his best, might have made a mistake a lap or so ago, as the last driver within, I was going to say, in the field, or last running driver, will be Rick Sheldon at 8th place.
And final drivers working their way across the line, and we focus on Rick Sheldon, who is unfortunately getting caught up in more incidents than he was looking to get caught up in tonight, obviously with the 1 or 2 that he ended up in tonight. But that'll be everybody across the line, and we can grab a look at your full race results here for race number 2 of the night. Will Salisbury ends up grabbing the win, a 3-second gap between himself and Zach Hudson. 2 Indiana natives round out the podium, with Max Butler finishing in P3. Matthew Escajeda ends up 4th with Kurt Panzergrau P5, Nicholas Leo P6, and that's where we start the drivers that were 1 lap down. Joe Butler and Rick Sheldon, with Nikita Lasickin and Anders Krohn 3 laps and 4 laps down respectively at the end of the night. So as we put a bookend to tonight, we will get started with the post-race show. And we've had a lot to talk about with these drivers here for Real Racers Virtual Club. And we're starting with the driver who sweeps the night. And Will Salisbury joins us in the booth. Will, you're the only driver now in Real Racers Virtual Club history, except for Anders Krohn, to get a clean sweep in a single round. Coming in to the last round last season, making your first start now, coming into this season, I know this has got to feel good getting off to this red hot start.
Oh, it feels amazing starting off. Clean sweep, pole, both wins. It feels great to be here. I just thank everyone at the Real Racers Club for letting me join tonight and kicking a little butt.
An absolute perfect hat trick for you tonight, but of course this is not where the season ends. You're getting off to a maximum start in terms of points, but we still got Brands Hatch, Interlagos, Lime Rock, Watkins Glen, and Road Atlanta to go. Are you looking to try and set this season on fire and try and just go for as many wins as possible, or now that you've gotten all these points, just kind of try and take a little bit of a conservative back foot and maybe try and just log a couple of points in and have a consistent season to round out the campaign?
Well, we're always looking to win. I mean, that's the goal. That's why everyone's here tonight, is to try and compete to win. We succeeded at that tonight. You know, I ran a perfect race. I was just putting down qualifying laps, and you know, even pulling away from those guys a little bit, Anders and Nikita, they still put a lot of pressure on you, because I know that the minute you slip up or you dip a wheel or lose a tenth, they're going to be all over you. So it takes a lot of consistency. It takes a lot of just focus to run a lot of clean, consistent, and fast laps. And I was able to do that tonight. So, that was the only reason I was able to get the win. But, looking forward, it's just like going into race 2. You want to get that win, but you want to get there and you want to do it methodically. I got really lucky on that first lap and was able to pick some guys off, just maneuvering around them and staying out of trouble. And that's going to be the key for the rest of the season, is just staying out of trouble. Not putting the car in any position that's going to get taken out or lose points. So obviously we're going to go into each round with a lot of practice, and we're just going to try and sweep as many as we can. I'm sure that won't happen, but going for the win is always the goal, and we'll try and replicate that next week.
Congratulations on your double wins tonight, Will. Go celebrate with the team. Congratulations.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Great to hear from our double race winner tonight, Will Salisbury. Now standing by with our Lorenzo Bonder. It's second place finisher for race 2, Zach Hudson.
So Zach, man, talk us through the second race, because you started right in the middle of the field and you saw all the chaos happen in front of you. And what you thought about the race overall, and with this new car, how'd you feel driving it?
Well, first off, I love this car. The F4 is literally the best thing to be added to iRacing in quite some time. Like, this is my favorite car right now. As far as the start goes, I was actually at the front of the field for race 2 there, so I had a little bit of a clean run, managed to get a gap, and yeah, apparently there was a lot of chaos behind me. So was unfortunate that we had a couple of yellows, because I was trying to build a gap on those restarts and maybe squeak out a win, but I'll take a P2 tonight, especially after what happened in race 1.
Early, and going to the championship itself, of course, shortened in comparison to last season, but really good calendar. Brands Hatch, Interlagos, Lime Rock, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta. If you have to pick one of these 5 tracks, which one do you think fits best your driving style with this new car?
Well, I mean, this is really a car that you can just kind of plan it and send it. And Road Atlanta, I feel like, is one of those tracks where if you can just put to the floor, send it, that's the track, and that's a season finale for us. So very much looking forward to that one. But Brands Hatch and Interlagos, I haven't ran that much, so I'm excited to try them out, see how the circuits are, and get a feel for them. But I mean, this car is great. You just literally point it where you want it to go, and it goes. So
Okay, Zach, man, congratulations on P2 over here on race 2. Enjoy your break, a week break, man, and can't wait to see what you're going to do at the 10th of May at Brands Hatch.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Great to hear from Zach Hudson. Of course, a great run from him starting on the pole for that race, and led a good bit of that opening race before he ended up finishing P2. We now move over to Max Butler, who finished in P3. Max, first of all, amazing looking brand new car in the iRacing Formula IRO4, and some good finishes for you tonight. Oh, I know you've got to at least feel good about the consistency that you had.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Alien Workshop and all the skate rats watching this. This one's for you. I got really, really lucky with the performance going on tonight. As you saw in the first qualifying, I did not have the pace. I think I'm coming to grips with this car, and it drives so different than every car that we've driven this seasons before, so I definitely have a lot of homework to do, but I'm feeling a bit like a George Russell out there and just getting what I can and scrapping up some podiums, so I'm very happy.
But you're able to get it done, especially here in race number 2. Now, you mentioned getting used to this brand new car. We move over to Brands Hatch in 2 weeks' time. Now, of course, that being a relatively much different track from Laguna Seca, do you think it'll be another big learning curve? Or do you think now that you've kind of got the basis of this car down, you can translate that over to a different track?
Oh, what a beautiful question, because I need to buy the track first. I don't even own that thing. So, yeah, if there's a story point for next time, just know that I'm going into that completely new. So if I end up getting another podium there, I need to buy a lottery ticket.
Well, I will, if you do end up getting a podium, I would definitely buy that lottery ticket, because you would be on insane luck at that point. Congratulations on your podium finish, especially here in race 2, Max, and thank you for joining us up here in the booth.
Thank you guys so much.
Great to hear from Max Butler, and moving over to season 2 champion Matthew Escajeda, who ended up with a P4 finish in race number 2. He's with Lorenzo.
So, Matt, 2 P4s in this race. Of course, not last season wasn't the season you probably would have wanted at the end of the day. Can we say the confidence is back with this car?
A little bit, yeah. I felt pretty quick. I qualified 3rd or 4th, and felt pretty confident. But in the race, I was struggling to stop the car, so had a couple lockups that cost me a little bit of time. But that was the first race. The second race, I don't really know. I don't have a comment on that one.
Yeah, so you had some mishaps going to race number 2, but still pull full P4 at the end of the day. Now moving into Brands Hatch, what do you think will be the biggest challenge for you driving a track that you guys haven't driven before? It's a new track and obviously a new challenge.
From what I remember, that track's pretty tight, so we just gotta clean up our collective racing, I guess. But I haven't driven there in a while, so I look forward to it. Though I'm not familiar with it right now.
Okay, then Matt, enjoy your break, man, and can't wait to see you on the 10th.
All right, thank you guys.
Top 4 there in the post-race show. Great to hear from all of them. And now we bring Rick Sheldon into the booth, and Rick, will start with, unfortunately, that not so great race number 2 from you. What was the main challenge that was getting you down to P8 there in that race? Looks like might be having some issues getting Rick Sheldon up here into the booth, but of course that number 63 tonight with an 8th place finish for him, and unfortunately doesn't look like we'll be able to hear from Rick Sheldon tonight, so that'll close out our post-race show. But we saw that video from Rick Sheldon running around the real-life Laguna Seca, and amazing to see that. Datsun 510 working overtime, and it looks like he was working overtime there in race number 2 tonight. Well, 2 weeks time before we continue this brand new campaign for round number 2 at Virtual Brands Hatch. And you can join us right back here on RaceSpotTV at 10 p.m. Eastern time on May the 10th for the second round. Will Salisbury sweeping both races here in the opening round tonight. Will he be able to keep up that same exact momentum going through Brands Hatch? Well, you'll have to tune in 2 weeks' time to find out. For Hugo Louise down in the virtual production trailer, for Lorenzo Bonder to my right, my name is Joshua Lee. And on behalf of everybody at Real Racers Virtual Club and RaceSpotTV, we thank you for tuning in to tonight's coverage. Congratulations to Will Salisbury, 2 for 2 in the opening round of Season 4 for Real Racers Virtual Club. What's going to happen when we move over to Europe into Brands Hatch for round number 2? Tune in 2 weeks' time to find out.